Hello everyone, and let's talk about World of Warcraft Legion, and this is my Legion leveling guide. I think this is just a handy little guide to leveling in Legion and how to do it. I'm not going to say efficiently, but how to do it effectively is the way to go, because Legion is a little bit different from previous kind of expansions to World of Warcraft, where the goal isn't so much to hit the end game as quickly as possible, but it is a very sort of different goal. So when Legion begins, Legion starts with the scenario. It's the Broken Shore scenario. I don't know if you'll be able to do this early, whether you'll be able to do this, earlier, or whether you'll be able to do this with the demon invasions. But it opens with the Broken Shore scenario. Okay, it's going to be in your faction's capital city. Okay, so you're going to want to head there. It'll be obviously you'll get a quest as soon as you log in and it's available. You'll get a quest. Either Vol'jin or Varian will give you the quest. Go to Stormwind, go to Orgrimmar, and you'll get a series of quests. And then you'll go in queue for a scenario, and you'll go to the Broken Shore scenario, which can be done on your own. It can be done solo. That's the footage that you're looking at right now. I'm doing it with the Frost Mage here. Basically, you can get a group of people. I think it's like a 10-player scenario. Up to 10 people you can get in there. It's quite good, actually, when you're doing it multiplayer. Doing it for the first time in the beta with a lot of people was quite fun, actually. It was quite fun seeing everybody's reactions to certain things. It's a pretty good scenario. I think you can skip it on the beta, I know, but I don't know if you can skip it on your alts. I don't know if we're able to do this earlier, but if you don't, it's a nice little story-based scenario. The story's pretty good, actually. I quite liked this. It was pretty fun. It was fun wandering about with other people. Don't worry, it's not like a raid or anything like that. It's just basically you kill some demons. It's mostly a story thing. I like the big demon that you fight at the end. Is quite cool, where you get the Horde and Alliance. Get to fight over the demon, and you've got your sort of, the sort of Sylvanas and Vol'jin and Thrall are sort of, let's go Horde, cheering you on, and let's come on Horde, and then you've got like Varian and Jaina on the Alliance side who are like, come on Alliance. It's quite funny. I thought it was quite funny, actually. Doing it with other players was funny because you're like trying to out DPS each other. It's two factions on two separate islands fighting the one boss, which is kind of funny, and he goes between little islands. And I thought that was pretty fun. Actually, it's a very fun thing to do with both the factions. If you do it on your own, it's not so fun. As you're gonna see, but it is kind of cool. Now after that, you'll get a story cutscene, which I haven't seen. Know the outcome of it, but you don't get to see it in beta, so you get to see the story cutscene in the final game. After that, you'll get a quest to go to Dalaran. Okay, Khadgar Tower to go to Dalaran. You'll get to teleport to Dalaran. Yeah, you get to teleport there. I think there's a few quests. There's quests in Orgrimmar and Stormwind. You have to fight off demons. You get a little introduction to the demon hunters there. You get a little introduction to the Illidari, and then you go to Dalaran. Okay, and then Dalaran gets teleported to the Broken Isles, and then you will get a quest on Dalaran, which will give you a Hearthstone. Okay, Dalaran Hearthstone you'll get. You say it works as any other Hearthstone, but it teleports you back to Dalaran, obviously. And then after that, you are going to get your Artefact quest, okay? And the Artefact quest is, obviously, it's important because it's going to be the weapon that you're going to use through the whole expansion. You're going to use that one weapon. Now, you pick one weapon at level 100. You're going to get, someone's going to come up to you, and it's just going to say, hey, or you'll get like a quest marker that comes up, and it's going to you always want to do this quest because you can't go anywhere else in the Broken Isles before you do this. So you're going to have to do this quest. You'll get a quest. It'll take you to, now these quests are different for every class. It'll take you to some area specific to every class, and then you'll get a choice. You'll list all 3 or 4 if you're a druid, specs of your class and the artifact weapon. Now, at level 100, you pick one of them. Now, this choice is not permanent per se, okay? You can pick you can get all 3 or all 4 of them at level 102. So honestly, I'd recommend if you're a healer class, I'd recommend just picking the DPS one. Okay, whatever your DPS bet. If you're a shaman, you know, you're a resto shaman, pick the elemental weapon. Don't worry about it. If you still want to be a healer, you're only going to go 2 levels before you're going to get your healer one. So it's just going to make it easier to quest as a DPS. You know, obviously you're a priest, pick the Shadow Priest one. Although Discipline is quite fun to level, actually. I leveled as Discipline. I thought it was a riot. It was awesome. It was awesome. So you get your artifact quest line. It will then, you'll go through that. It's a pretty cool little class quest that you get. It will then take you to your class order hall. This is another very important part of Legion, is your class order hall. Again, unique to every single class. You'll get your artifact weapon. Now, I would always want to check in with your class order hall, because you are going to get quests that are going to pop up as you level. I would always go back to Dalaran. Really, maybe every level, or every 2 levels maybe, go back to Dalaran and, you know, look for quests, because there's quests in Dalaran that you can do. There's specific scenarios as well that are involved there. There's one on the Exodar, which is quite interesting. There's a few other kind of quests. Some send you to dungeons to pick up items. Dungeons are quite important. We'll get to them later. But there's a lot of quests that, you know, will take you around the world, which is quite interesting. You know, who goes to Exodar? You know, it's the Draenei kind of starter area. You get a quest there. There's a scenario there, for example, which is, you know, quite cool, actually. So it takes you all around the different parts of the game world, which is quite interesting, because it's nice that they've got a huge world, Blizzard, and they're going to use it in this expansion. So you won't just be stuck on the Broken Isles for most of the game. You'll be there most of the game, but you won't be stuck there. There'll be quests out in the world, and certainly the artifact quest lines are going to take you to different parts of the world as well, so they're pretty good as well. So what you want to do is you get your artifact weapon, then you're going to pick your zone on the Broken Isles. Now, this doesn't matter which order you do. So, okay, you'll get a choice of all the zones except Suramar, which is the end game zone. Okay, so you've got a choice of all of those zones. Now, pick whatever one you want. Okay, it really doesn't matter for 2 reasons. Number one, there's level scaling in the game. Okay. Enemies scale to your level, or they scale to just below your level, depending on, I can't remember how it works, but they scale to just below what level you are. So if you're level 103 and you're questing in High Mountain, enemies and quest rewards will be for, you know, the item level will be around, like, say, 710 or something like that. Whereas if you're level 108 and questing in High Mountain, you'll maybe get item level, I don't know, 740, 750, and the mobs will be around 107, 108 type level. The same mobs, different levels. So again, you have to do them all anyway, so you don't have to rush to 110, because if you want to unlock world quests, which are going to be a big part of the end game, you have to get friendly reputation with all the factions. And you get friendly simply by finishing the story with all the factions. So just follow the story. It's kind of like Star Wars The Old Republic's planetary quests. It's a bit like them. Okay, so you're going to get a main quest that takes you through each zone, and each zone ends in a dungeon. So you're going to be doing a dungeon at the end of each quest zone. Okay. Each area has its own dungeon. Each of the dungeons, the leveling dungeons, are related to a quest zone. Okay, so you're gonna get one of the you're getting the pillars of creation basically, and they're usually all located in a dungeon. So you're gonna have to go through a dungeon at the end of each quest zone, which is good. You know, it's a multiplayer game. We should be expected to play multiplayer. But yeah, you're gonna have to go through them. Now, the big thing that your level doesn't really matter, is what I will say. The big thing that you want, there's 2 major things that you're going to look for. Number 1 is class order hall resources. Okay, you're going to need them to progress your class order hall. Okay, you do have a garrison type mission table, and you are going to get followers. You're going to get champion followers. And for the priest, at least, we had zealots and acolytes. They were slightly different to Warlords of Draenor. The acolytes and zealots have like a sort of stamina meter thing, and they can only go on so many quests. Your champion followers have, they can go on unlimited quests. You can get one of them as a bodyguard as well. I was running around with a troll bodyguard as well as when I was leveling my discipline priest. So you've got those are still there. You get followers by doing class order hall quests. So don't ignore your class order hall quests. They're gonna be important, okay? Because there's class order hall perks and there's artifact research, which we'll cover in a bit. Now, when you get to 102, obviously you're gonna pick your other artifact weapon. You can get them all, so I'd recommend doing that, really, because A, they're fun little quests, and B, you never know. Okay, you might be in a dungeon queue. Maybe you're in a dungeon queue as a DPS and it's taken forever. So what if you're a class that can heal or tank and you can play that role, you can just switch out freely. Bear in mind, in Legion, there is no dual spec anymore, but there is no limitation to how often you can change spec. Literally just press the N key by default, click the spec you want, click activate, and that's it. Now, if you don't have the artifact weapon for that spec, you cannot use your artifact weapon. Like, your artifact weapon for Shadow will not work in Discipline, for example. It won't work. Okay, so you're going to want to do those quests, which just gives you more options, really. It just gives yourself more options. Now, the way you kind of level your artifact weapon is through Artefact Power. Now, if you're leveling with an off-spec, okay, if say you're a Discipline Priest and you're leveling a Shadow, don't put Artefact Power into your Shadow weapon, okay? Do not put it into that. What you want to do is keep a hold of Artefact Power. How Artefact Power works is it's a consumable item, okay? So you can stack it in your inventory. You can set them, you get there's different levels of it, you know, it's got different rarities. Some give you 100, some give you 20, some give you 35, okay? Just sit with them in your inventory, and what you want to do is wait until you hit end game and put it into your main spec artifact weapon. Your off-spec weapon you can take care of by doing artifact research, which again, you think you get that at about 108, 109. It's usually quite late in the leveling process. When you get artifact research, what you can do is you can use that to keep your off-spec weapon in sort of within 80%, they've said, of the main spec weapon. That's really what you want to do. You want to do that before, you know, you kind of pour. You don't want to have your main spec have less artifact power and less item level than your off spec. You know, that doesn't make any sense. So if you're going to play Discipline at end game, save your artifact power. However, if you're Shadow Priest and you're going to play a Shadow Priest at end game, then go for it. Then, you know, spend it all in there. Don't spread your artifact power out amongst the 3 weapons, okay? It's a bit of a waste because you'll find yourself a little bit behind. Some of those perks, especially the later on perks that you get, and bear in mind that your artifact power, it ramps up every time you get enough to gain a level. The amount to get to the next level increases, so you're gonna have to get more artifact power. How you get artifact power in the game? Basically, quests reward it. Dungeons, queuing for a random dungeon gives you some per day. They have a chance to drop from mobs. Rares have the highest chance. They're still rare mobs in the game. Works the same way as rares did in Warlords of Draenor, although they do not reward gear. And there's also treasure chests, which are slightly different from Warlords of Draenor. They don't give you XP. They mostly give you order hall resources and artifact power. So you want to be doing rare mobs, kill a rare mob, and get the treasure chest. Also do the bonus objectives, okay? Remember them from Warlords of Draenor, the fill the bar quest. You want to do them because they give you a decent amount of XP and they give you, more importantly, class order hall resources. So everything you want to do in your class order hall costs resources. So get as many as you can before you hit the 110. Obviously, you're going to work on things like professions and things like that as well, while leveling as well. It's again just kills 2 birds with 1 stone, obviously. There, and as well, you want to be, what was I going to say there? I forgot what I was going to say. You want to be, you want to keep your artifact power. You know, keep it for the off spec. Now, the artifact relics, that's what I was going to mention. Artifact relics don't really matter so much because they're rewarded as quest rewards, really, and you're going to get them at end game anyway. Now, artifact power and Artefact Relic. Artefact Relics increase the item level of your artifact, and they are quest rewards. So what you can do is you can put them in, because you keep them temporarily and you're going to upgrade them. Okay, so just make sure you have, maybe keep 2 of them for, you know, your spec at end game. So when you're sort of level 109, maybe keep 1 of them. You get 2 Artefact Relic slots, and the 3rd one becomes available when you finish your class order haul. But you won't be finishing your class order haul until you hit 110. Anyway, when you hit 110, you're going to finish the story quests when you hit 110. Then you're going to go to Suramar to do the final one, and then that will unlock the world quest. The world quests are the best sort of for gearing, depending what you're gearing towards, really. If you're gearing towards mythic dungeons or raiding, you're going to want to start with the world quest. They're a good starting point. So do Suramar. Suramar will net you a decent amount of artifact power. Okay, I did that on my Discipline Priest earlier today, and you get quite a lot of artifact power there. So I would go there. You have to do it to unlock the world quest. The world quests are pretty decent in the reward. They're kind of like Diablo 3. And then you can get, you know, I level 810 is the requirement for heroic dungeons. Do some world quests. Get your eye level 810 gear. Get some, you know, I think you get eye level 8. I mean, it can proc Titan Warforce. It can proc up to the highest item level in the game, really, which I think is 895. But the odds of you getting that from a world quest are fairly limited. Basically, it can proc as high as it can go. It can proc up to the highest. You could get legendaries as well. They drop from enemies as well. Legendary items, you can only equip 1 of them, but if you do your class order haul research, you can get that up to be able to equip 2 of them. You also get like a bonus chest as well, which can, you know, has a high chance to proc a legendary weapon. I've never had one yet. But you do get the chance at 110. So doing your world quests, then you're going to probably move on to heroic dungeons, and then mythic dungeons, and then you've got really options. You've got the raids probably open up. The raids don't open up right away, though. You've got the, you know, whatever level of raiding that you're doing, obviously. And you've got the mythic dungeons, which are quite interesting because they can increase in level. You've got like mythic, mythic plus. You get a keystone similar to Diablo. And you can go up to, I think it's like mythic plus 7 or something like that they go up to. And this keystone is going to be upgradable as the expansion goes on. So dungeons are always going to be relevant. There are also a few mythic only dungeons, which I haven't had a chance to take a look at. But my advice to you is don't worry too much about your level. Okay, so in conclusion, we'll say don't worry too much about your level. Worry more about your artifact power and keeping your artifact weapon up. And do your class order haul quest and do the quest in Dalaran. And make sure you do the story quests. It's not really about power leveling to 110. You want to take your time and do the story quests. The stories are quite good, actually. I really enjoyed doing the story quests, to be honest with you. But make sure you keep up to date with your class order haul. That's one of the big things. You don't want to fall behind there. Because there's gear, but the class order haul gear is not that great, to be honest. Probably gonna get better gear doing world quests and heroic dungeons. Probably gonna give you better gear, and then you can, you know, get into raiding and get into mythic dungeons, etc., etc. But yeah, you're gonna want to be focused more on artifact power than leveling, and don't forget to pull your artifact power. Do your artifact research if you want to do the off spec. It doesn't really matter too much your artifact traits while leveling, but at end game you're going to want to spend all that artifact power into your main spec. Always prioritize your main spec and use the artifact research system for your off spec, okay? Bear in mind, it only works for the 2nd spec, your artifact research. The 3rd spec or 4th spec, you're going to have to do it manually. So eventually, the artifact abilities, they're going to be... or the artifact traits, they're going to take a while. It's going to take a while to get right, okay? It's going to take a while to get them up, okay? So that's why just focus on one weapon. Don't spread them around, okay? Because you're going to be behind, and you don't want to be behind because some of those traits later on in the weapon are pretty good, okay? They're pretty powerful traits, so you're going to want to get them as soon as possible for your main spec. So that's just my advice for leveling in Legion. Do the story. keep your artifact up to date, and enjoy the game. Ultimately, enjoy the leveling experience. Don't rush it, because it's a very good leveling experience. I've really enjoyed the story, and I've enjoyed questing in Legion. It's pretty good. It's pretty damn good. Warlords of Draenor was pretty good, but Legion kind of, you need to do the story in Legion. Okay, Warlords, you just kind of did a few quests, and then when you hit the level to get to the next zone, you just went to the next zone. Really, unless you really enjoyed the story, because it wasn't worth staying in the previous zone because your XP gain fell off a cliff. Whereas in Legion, you're going to be finish the story quests. Okay, finish all the story, because you have to do it for end game anyway. You want to unlock those world quests because it is a good chance for legendaries. It is a good chance to get decent item level gear. You get kind of decent entry level for heroic dungeons gear, but it has the chance to proc. It's going to have a chance to Warforge and Titan Warforge. So the RNG has RNG. You know, Blizzard, they love their RNG. But anyway, that is all for this video, and I'm looking forward to playing Legion, I should point out. It seems like a pretty decent expansion so far, at least from a sort of leveling, questing point of view. Don't know what endgame's like. I haven't really got into endgame, but again, world quests look interesting. They're kind of similar to Diablo's type quests. The keystone thing is just ripped right from Diablo, really, for the dungeons. Looks kind of cool. You can add modifiers, you can add difficulty to the dungeons. So for people like me who like small group content, I'm gonna, I might have a go at that, certainly. But anyway, that is all for this video. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you again soon, and goodbye.